Hello everyone, today we are saying goodbye to my primary charger, the SkyRC Q200. I have used this for many years, but over the last 8 months or so, I really couldn't trust it to do much charging because I found prior to those months that it started overcharging a little bit or it was undercharging sometimes, and some of the channels just wouldn't detect a battery sometimes. Various problems with it, but I think I've probably had this 6 years and used it regularly, so a pretty good value. And if you have one of these and it's still operating, let me know down in the comment section below. That would probably indicate you've been in RC quite a while if you have one of these, because I think they've been discontinued for a couple of years, really. But the reason why we're saying goodbye is I have acquired a new charger, a name brand that you will know, Hota, the F6 Plus. It is worth noting that the F6 Plus is not only version that looks just like this, but they have the F6 version that is about half of the profile as far as the tallness of the unit. But this has all sorts of hardware specs, so you can charge giant batteries, and you can charge them, up to 15 amp at a time. So if you plug it into like an outlet, it's a 500 watt charger. If you plug it in via a battery, it's 250 watt. And do note that battery connection back there. That is not an XT60. This is an XT60. Let me line that up a little bit better. So that looks to me, I can't say for certain, but that looks like an XT90 or something thereabouts. In the manual and on the Hota website, I wasn't able to find exactly what that plug size was, but my guess would be XT90. Something to keep in mind. It's a curious choice, at least for us in this hobby, that they used an XT90 back there. Maybe it's because the batteries they predict we're going to use for field charging using this is just come primarily in that size. But for me, I fly here at home almost 99% of the time, so I just plug it in the back. And this has a lot of not only the power to charge super big batteries super fast if you want to do that, and it has 4 ports located on each side. It has an option for a combo kit, which I would suggest if you're looking at this. At least I thought a combo kit would be handy, because it comes with, and what I do with it, little dongles that you can plug into the balance lead so you can get that out away from the charger a little bit. And it also comes with leads. I made these so you can plug those and you can just get things away from the sides, because especially with micro batteries, I find that it tends to pull out the balance lead when it's right up next to the charger like this, versus using something like this, which my Q200 did come with these. It has a touch interface on the front, which is a really nice feature, but I think we need to go old school. At least for me, we need to go old school when it comes to the touch interface on these. Here is a look at the colorful interface, which is nice and easy to read, pleasing to look at, but it's not a very high density sort of screen. You can actually, even with my old eyes, I can see some of the pixels around the edges, especially on those zeros. And then our buttons are incorporated into this touch interface. As you can see here, we can navigate up and down, and it makes those little beeps. I think the first thing I have to talk about are the things I don't like, which is those buttons. I would much prefer to have hardware buttons like the Q200 does. These are quick, they're responsive. I don't ever hit anything, which I can't say about the Hota F6 Plus over here. I found that from time to time I would not hit the button cleanly, and I'd end up getting the other button. Even though my target might be the up, I might get down, just maybe because I'm right-handed and I'm reaching from the right-handed side. But it also is missing what other key aspect of the touch interface, at least in my opinion, is you've got 4 ports on this, as well as USB. Across the pot, you've got 2 USB ports on the front here that are micro USB. This would be for servo testing, servo functionality. I don't really do any of that stuff, so I haven't used that. And then you've got a standard USB-A port. This port is not outputting enough to where you could power something like your ViFly off of it. I actually tried. You get a little error warning on the screen. So this would be kind of a trickle charge for your cell phone or something of that nature. That's something else that I think they could have improved with this. With all this power, why not output, QC3 so you can use something like this to charge in the field if you were to be so inclined, or maybe you're just traveling at your hotel room. One less USB you got to plug in, or a little dongle you got to carry, or you can just charge your cell phone a little bit faster. I think that would be useful. I already showed you the back and that what presumably is an XT90. But let's go into the menu here. And we get there by long pressing the OK button. So we've got task parameters. Hopefully you can see that without too much glare from my lights. And we've got a safety timer, max capacity, end current, 10% trickle charge. Those are all the settings in this particular menu. But let's go down to system parameters as well. You can, of course, select English. It comes in various languages here. Hopefully I don't miss-hit and mess this up. Okay, got to the bottom. Let's go back. Back button is the channel button. Regen charge. You can see those. A lot of these things I don't think are necessary to go through in great detail because most of us are probably using basic charging. I guess if you're doing some sort of scientific study or something like that, maybe you want to see every one of these features, but that might be a terrible long video here. Max input power. We've already kind of covered these things. Backlight, which just like on a radio is high, middle, and low. If you're probably field charging with a battery using that XT90, you might want to go to something a little bit lower so you get out of there. I think it's interesting when you go into these menus. So it highlights green over here, but then when we go into it, it just uses these red lines. Hopefully you can see that. Red lines above the top and the bottom in order to highlight that. That seems odd as far as an interface design goes. It seems like you'd want to be consistent with what's highlighted. So it goes from green when you select it, it kind of shades it into a different color gray, and it goes to a red highlight. Strange to me. Okay, volume. I already changed this because I thought high was too loud and annoying. So you have high, little, middle, low, and off. Go back to middle on that. Completion signal, it repeats. I'm going to turn that off right now because I don't need to hear the beep continuously. I usually charge when I'm in the area and only charge when I'm in the area. So I'm going to go with a single beep to let me know that it's done. You can change the device name, which I obviously have not done. I'm not really into that sort of thing. Average power off. Night mode is just on and off. Let's go ahead and switch that so you can see. Didn't even change the interface as far as I'm concerned. Was that all that we had in here? Night mode, on, off. Continuous mode. That's something that I wanted to make sure I showed you. Continuous mode is just like with these sorts of chargers. So if you set up your batteries and you start discharging them, say you're going to storage charge, and it beeps at you, in my case, the single beep, now that I've set it up that way one time, you can just kind of almost hot swap. So you don't have to hit any buttons, which is a good thing because they don't have a all channel sort of feature or button selection on this. So you can just unplug your battery and plug the next one in, and it'll start doing the same task on that channel that it was previously. Now, I didn't test to make sure if you went from like a 4S to a 3S that it would try to charge your 3S battery to 4S voltage. I didn't test that. I'm making the assumption that Hota is a reputable company. As far as they say, they are the official partner of the World Drone Racing Championship. I said that wrong. World Drone Championship 2019. So, not in 4 years. But I presume that they have, some error correction in their interface in order to detect that different signal. But that's something to note that I did not test as of yet. I tend to charge the same sort of batteries over and over and over again, and I don't tend to charge different cell batteries for 3S and 4S, whatnot, especially in micros. But that gets us back to the end of our system settings. Go down to tools. And this is where you would use this port on the front here for your servo testing and your PPM output. Then we have calibration for our different channels. Self-checking system. You can do that to run a self-test, and then you can reset the factory settings back to default. System info, just so you can see mine here. Hardware version, LD version, channel 1, channel 2. Serial number. Surely that's probably just for warranty registration or something like that. Maybe they ask you that if you need support. And that is the end of our menu. Let's plug in some batteries so you can see that interface. So I was flying 2S today using another new product with a quad that I've had around for a while. Hint to the kind of product that I was testing today. But let's plug these in. Let's just do it on the side. They have it printed very nicely here on the side so you know which side to go with. So you want your ground pin to be on pin 1 over here. And this is going to be a little bit cumbersome around a camera and with the short wire leads of micro batteries. Oh, I need to get my little adapter out for this. All right. Personally made adapter acquired. I'm going to do this 4 more times. We'll get this going. Okay, so now that I have all of our batteries plugged in, you can see here we've got voltage readings. So I've got a used battery over here. Didn't fully discharge that one all the way. And then we've got some fully charged batteries. So let's go ahead and set them to, let's do storage charge. So unfortunately, we can, well, let's go all the way to the top. We're going to charge, and this is our channel selection, and this is where I really think they should add a menu. There's no all, and I think that is important. That's something we see in Toolkit RC radios. That needs to be changed. I'm certainly hopeful that they'll change that in the firmware update. Currently, the Hota website does not have even the manual for the F6 Plus published, so there's no entry for a new firmware. Hota, we need all right below here, 4 channel. I got 4 batteries. I want to do the same thing. Why do I have to select each channel individually? That is another thing that I don't care for with this interface, to me, being slower to navigate outside of the screen refresh and the buttons, whereas, you know, like this, that tactile, I'm pretty fast with that, so I might be complaining about something that you don't like, but or that you're fine with, but to me, that needed it all. So we're going to go down, and then we can see that we've got all these different features here, and we're going to storage charge, so you can see the double red lines for highlighting that. We've got different battery types, of course, all sorts of different batteries, high voltage lipos, lithium ion, Li-Fi. Let's go down. We probably got some nickel metal hydride. Yeah, we got all sorts of batteries, as you would expect, but we need LiPo. I should have probably muted my beeping button during going through all this myth through the menus. It's probably annoying most of you. So it tells us our cell voltage here. We can manipulate that if we wanted to. We could raise or lower that storage voltage, but I don't want to. It does auto-detect the cell count, so we're good there. 2S, 7.4 volts. This is where we can go down on the current settings. We can change this. It goes all the way down to 0.1 to 15 amps. So I don't need to discharge super fast. So I'm just going to have it go at 1 amp. Do what you're comfortable with. And then we're going to start the task. So that's 1. And now it tells us LiPo 2S, and it's doing a storage charge. So we can go down to select the next channel. We go into this channel and we can just hit start again. Go down. Okay. Start. See how it kind of refreshes a little bit slowly too? That's kind of drives me crazy too. It's just not as fast. I think if we had a more humdrum interface without the touch screen buttons, if we just had digital buttons here on the front, those would be fine and fast. Certainly, this is more expensive than physical buttons. Certainly. Am I wrong about this? Anyways, so this is what the interface looks like. We've pretty much seen it all. Again, I would recommend anyone who's interested in this particular charger that if you charge a lot of batteries, yeah, you might want to do a parallel board, but you have to. One of the reasons why I like 4-port chargers or multi-port chargers is I don't like to have to measure my batteries out to make sure they're within a reasonable voltage and then have to be careful and worry about, most of the time when I see fires published on Facebook, people are using a parallel charging board. So I've always stayed away from that. I've tinkered with it, you know, from time to time, but my mainstay in charging is using multiple chargers, and I buy chargers, obviously, with multiple ports on them. And there's a little sample of fan. The fan is somewhat noisy, but it is smooth. Okay, I'm going to stop all this so we can wrap up the video. Oh, one more thing before we go to finish up. Here is the hardware specs on the front of the little manual that you do get, because this is not published on their website just yet. So you can pause the screen to read this more closely. And then if we look at this diagram at the bottom here, it doesn't tell us what size that plug is. So that's why I'm postulating and hoping I'm right that it's an XT90 connection there on the back for field charging. And even with the stopping, we have to stop them one at a time. We need an all. As I started the video, I really like a lot of their hardware specs. I think the X290 is a little bit of an odd choice, but maybe someone knows why they would choose that over others. Maybe it's a standard that they have across all their different chargers for field charging. This is my first Hota that I've owned in hand. I've given a few away over the years, but after using them, I do find that this interface, as I said a number of times, one key thing that would make me a lot happier, let's say 10 or 15% happier with the charger, is just to have that all. So I can set them all up to charge all at the same time. And then with that continuous feature, if I've got 10 batteries and I don't want to start up 4 or 5 chargers, or whatever number of chargers I have, I can just continually pop them in and out as they finish up. That is a really handy feature, as most of us with Whoops and Wi-Fi Whoop stores know that just being able to set them to charge and then swap them out when you're ready to move on to the next one. Super handy feature. The button presses are fine, I mean, as far as the noise goes, but I find that this interface is a little bit small. Thankfully, while I was doing the video, I was driving it fairly well and I wasn't getting any of those mishits or anything like that. I do think that if you're a micro guy like me and you don't need all the power of the F6 Plus, the F6 will serve you very, very well. Plus, it's a little bit shorter as far as the form factor, and that is one of the things I like about the form factor, is my Q200 took up a lot of real estate. Actually, it's this way. It sat right back there on the shelf, and that's where this one is going to go. You'll see this back there from, well, you saw this one back there for about 5 or 6 years, so I suspect I'll get 5 or 6 years of this one sitting back there. But as you can tell, the size of this thing and that spec sheet that I held up, it's substantially smaller. Now, it is taller, but its total footprint, which on a shelf back there like that, footprint size has got a value to it as well. So there are a lot of things I do like. I just think the interface needs that all feature. I would like to see QC3 on the USB on the front, which it's a little low in my opinion. Maybe it's just because I think that this pair would be a nice pair to travel with, which I'm actually, as you're watching this, I'm probably preparing to do because I am going on vacation with my family. We will be out of contact for, well, not completely out of contact. I'll have my phone, but we're going to go do kind of a last, probably all together family vacation, at least for quite a while. As my oldest goes off to college, we're not certain that he's going to have the time to take a break from work or studies, whatever he might be doing, and go with us on another family vacation. So hoping to have a good time. I hope you guys are all enjoying yourself. And if you are interested in the Hota F6 Plus or the F6, I will link them down in the video description. You'll find those links to Banggood. Thanks to Banggood, they did send me this charger for review. And I appreciate that because my Q200 just wasn't holding mustard anymore. Although I left it on the shelf back there, it's time for it to go away, and the F6 Plus is going to take its place. If you have any comments, questions, suggestions, or otherwise, please let me know in the comments section below. I appreciate your time. Thanks for watching.